Before we get started, I apologize about the lawnmower. There's nothing I can do about the lawnmower. People mow their lawns. It's Sunday. It's a decent day outside. I don't live in a soundproof box. You're going to hear a lawnmower. Sorry. Also sorry that the Mariners lose 6-3. They fall to 25-22 on the season, and they lose 2 of 3 in the series against the Orioles. Go over the scoring plays. Orioles get 2 in the first. Gunnar Henderson absolutely shellacks a homer off of George Kirby. 1-0, and then Colton Cowser reaches on a single to score Jordan Westbrook. 2-0. The lawnmower is getting closer. In the second inning, the Mariners do bounce back a little bit. Luis Urias singles home Luke Raley, 2-1. But that run gets canceled out in the bottom of that inning by a James McCann double to score Jorge Mateo, 3-1. 2 more runs for the Orioles in the third. Ryan O'Hearn torches a homer on a terribly located pitch. We will talk about George Kirby, I promise you. That makes it 4-1, and then Cedric Mullins singles to right to score Cowser, 5-1. Mariners do some damage in the seventh and get briefly back into this game. Luis Urias doubles to left to score Dylan Moore, and then Julio singles to left to score Urias. That makes it 5-3. Orioles get a little more insurance in the eighth. Cedric Mullins singles to right to score Colton Cowser, who I think I just said Colton Cowser's name like 40 times. How many runs did he score in this game? I thought they only had 6. 6-3 at the end of 8. There are a couple of positives, mostly on the offensive side here. Julio, a couple of hits, average up to 274. We want to see that slugging percentage get back into a Julio-esque range, but went like 5 for 13 in this series and stung a couple of singles to left, including that RBI single. Yeah, we want to see him start driving the baseball more and hitting the baseball over the fence. But we'll take the hits dropping. We will absolutely take the hits dropping. And these numbers, I will point out again to you, are so much better than they were in near the end of May last year. Much better. Luke Raley did not hit the ball particularly hard, but he got 3 singles, or excuse me, he got 3 hits. He got 2 doubles and a single. I think on those oh, by the way, calling that first double a double, scorekeepers suck. They're bad at their jobs. I don't know what you do about it, but they're bad at their jobs. Ryan Mountcastle basically just made one of the laziest defensive efforts I've seen in my entire life, hoping that he stabs at this baseball. That's an error. The fact that becomes an earned run for Corbin Burns, I would be furious. Because that's not his fault. Not even kind of his fault. That being said, Luke Raley has been fantastic in May. And, you know, the hits are falling. I love that they hit him cleat up, by the way. Really like the lineup that they put out. I'd probably reverse Dumper and Raley right now, but really liked the lineup they put out for what they have. Obviously, there are positions they need to upgrade at, but for what they have right now, I like the way they ordered things. And then Luis Urias, a couple of big hits, drives in a couple of runs. Has he been great? No. Has the power really slowed down lately? Yeah. Part-time player, but I think he's looked okay. I've been encouraged by what I've seen from Luis Urias, especially today. So, yeah, it's not great, but there's got to be some positives. There's one positive for the pitching side, and that is that Austin Voth did a really nice job. Came in at a 5-3 situation, held the lineup without a run, without a hit, picks up a strikeout through 7 of 9 pitches for strikes. That's the best I've seen Austin Voth pitch this year. Austin Voth this year. Words are hard. He looked good. He was the only pitcher who looked good, but he did his job, and we'll give him his flowers. Do the kids still say that? Give flowers? I don't know. All right. There's some negatives to talk about too. But first, thank you to Simply Seattle for providing the very best in Seattle sports gear. Great stuff for the Mariners, of course, but the Seahawks, Huskies, Storm, Cougars, Sounders, you can find it all at Simply Seattle. Rainiers, love this hat. Got it from Simply Seattle. Once you find all your good stuff, please use code MOLLYWOP15 to save 15% off your order, MOLLYWHOP15. Not only does it take 15% off your order, it shows you're paying attention to this show, you're paying attention to Mollywop Monday. We appreciate Simply Seattle so much for sponsoring the show, and now we want to show them our support by entering that code and then spending a bunch of money on them. Please and thank you. They're awesome people. Thank you so much, Simply Seattle. We're going to end with George Kirby. Negatives offensively, there are a few. Josh Rojas was awful today. Awful. And was he due for an awful game? Yeah. He's looked really bad since the Polanco injury. Really bad. 0 for 4 today with 3 strikeouts. And credit, flowers to Corbin Burnes. He was fantastic. Fantastic. Should not have given up a run today. The fact that that run is earned is just so freaking stupid. I'm sorry, scorekeepers. If any of you listen to this, get better. Get better. Find out a way to get some training. Find out a way for something. Because this is awful. It's awful. Anyway, so was Josh Rojas. Josh Rojas played a very poor game. Dominic Canzone wasn't good. Sebi Zavala did hit a ball hard. I don't think that would have gone over the fence, the Mullins catch, but, you know, it was a leaping-ish grab. It's a good play, but, boy, he's just hard to watch play offensively. Haniger does get a double. Let's talk about one play real quick. The decision to send Raley on a ball that was hit into the right field gap, and not even hit in the right field gap. It was one of Raley's doubles. They tried to score Big Dumper, and I get it because of how bad the offense looked. I think he got to hold him. There's two things. Number one, you're not going to get a lot of scoring chances against Corbin Burnes. And number two, Mitch Haniger's just looks so bad. Are you really trusting him? Second and third, 2 outs against Corbin Burnes. And then, of course, the very next inning, after Big Dumper is thrown out by a considerable margin, of course, right after that happened, Haniger ends up hitting a double in his next at bat. You don't know that's going to happen. You're going to pitch him differently, blah, 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 blah. I get why they sent him. It's probably a mistake. It was probably a mistake. Not the worst that I've seen from Manny Acta. And I think Acta actually does a decent job. But, yeah, probably a mistake there. Doesn't matter. It didn't cost him the game or anything like that. But just something I wanted to point out because it was widely discussed on the Melted Crayons website. I don't like that guy. Any other negatives here offensively? We talked about Canzone. We talked about Rojas. Boy, that double play that he hit into was just massive. It's a 5-2 game. You got runners on first and second. You got your top of the lineup. He grounds into a double play. It's the only time he didn't strike out today. You know, we've been very appreciative of what Josh Rojas has done, and we acknowledge that bad games are going to happen, but this was a really bad one. And again, since making the move to second base for whatever reason, probably more regression to the mean than anything else, he hasn't looked good. I'll say this. Josh Rojas will not be hitting at the top of the lineup when J.P. Crawford comes back. And it sounds like that's going to be in the Yankee series. I'll believe when he's back when I see it, to be completely honest with you. But they are saying it sounds like sometime during this upcoming 4-game series. Cody Bolton was bad. Cody Bolton, and not a high leverage situation, but not the lowest leverage situation. You know, you give your team a chance if you pitch a scoreless inning there to get a bloop and a blast and get out of it. He got hit hard, and he only ends up giving up the 1 run, but I cannot trust Cody Bolton in high leverage stuff. He would be one of the first guys I send down. Pizzardo's probably number 1, and then Bolton number 2 if you go get real relievers. I think a bug just flew into my eyeball. Can you? No. Something felt like it. Maybe I just don't want it to. George Kirby stunk. The fact he was able to give you 6 innings today is kind of a miracle because his command was awful. And let's talk about command and control one more time because it is different. Control is throwing strikes. Command is throwing quality strikes. George Kirby did not throw quality strikes today. He got shelled. At one point, and I stopped counting, he had given up 8 balls over 100 miles per hour in exit velocity. And I think it was 9 right after I looked that stat up. I would not be surprised if it reached double digits. He wasn't good. Did he settle down over the final 3 innings? Sure. Damage done. Damage absolutely done. And unfortunately, George Kirby and Bryce Miller just flat out weren't good enough. And I think a lot of people are going to point out, well, this is a concerning thing because Baltimore's aggressive. They have guys who draw walks, no question about it, but they will jump on first pitch fastballs. Well, pretty much the same lineup that George Kirby faced last year. George Kirby threw one of the best games I've seen a starter throw. What should have been complete game shutout, but they didn't score any damn runs behind him. Darn runs. Sorry, Pioneer Elementary. Anyway, George Kirby was flat out not good enough. And it's worth pointing out he has been flat out not good enough in 2 of his last 3 starts. And a couple other clunkers in the earlier portion of the year, too. He needs to make that jump. We talk about what disappointment means a lot in this channel or disappointment and frustration, right? Same thing, mostly. It's easy to get frustrated by George Kirby because we have such lofty expectations for him. Same thing with Julio. Same thing with Gilbert when he has his issues. Same thing for every quality player. Same thing for Big Dumper. I don't get frustrated when I watch Sebi Zavala not hit. I'm frustrated he's on the roster, if I'm being completely honest with you. I just don't think he's good enough. And you have Blake Hunt, who I think is a perfectly good backup backstop. But I don't get frustrated by his bad at-bats. He's just not good enough to get the job done. I get frustrated when George Kirby pitches like this because he's better than this. At least I think he's better than this. Secondary stuff has to get better. In his command today, there were some pitches that were hit hard, and it wasn't the Orioles reaching out. It wasn't the Orioles turning on pitches that were perfectly located on corners. They were down the middle of the plate. And as good as his control is, the command still has some work to do. Is it 70 grade most of the time? You bet. On the 20/80 scale. Sometimes it's 80. But it was like 45 today, and he just doesn't have good enough stuff to get away with that. Not long-term concerned with George Kirby, but I need him to be better than this. We all need him to be better than this. Unfair expectations, maybe. But he got shelled today. People will look and say, well, he gave you 6 innings. He only gave up the 5 spots and nothing after the 3rd. No, those first 3 innings are why you lose this game. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And now you've got to have a 4-game series against a team that is playing as well, if not better, than anyone in baseball. The Colorado Rockies. No. New York Yankees. Let's go over the pitching matchups real quick. Logan Gilbert versus Marcus Stroman. Brian Wu versus Clark Schmidt. Bryce Miller against Nestor Cortez, former Mariner legend. And Luis Castillo versus Luis Gil. By the way, Gil just threw a game where he had 14 strikeouts. That's not easy. All of those pitchers are capable of beating the Mariners. Now, all of the Mariners pitchers are capable of beating the Yankees. A 1-3 series here doesn't seem so bad. I'll be disappointed with it because, again, I do have expectations for this team. But you got to avoid the sweep. If you get a split, you're doing great. If you win this series, you feel amazing. But this is going to be tough. This is going to be real tough. Now, the good news after this series is you get to play the Nationals, who aren't good, the Astros, who I don't think are very good, and Los Angeles and Oakland, who I know are not good. Flat out, no, are not good. So it gets a little easier. But this is a This is a gauntlet. This is a gauntlet. Not good enough today, but at least they get the win Saturday, so they avoid the sweep. Can they avoid the sweep? Can they split this series against the Yankees? Based on how they looked on Friday and Sunday, I kind of doubt it, but that's why they play the games, baby. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Really appreciate the support. We'll see you soon. We got to be better, George. We got to be better.